Hi everyone, welcome to our TNT. It's the 10th of May, the final day of this working week. Tomorrow we've got our live program. We invite you to drop in on that. Plenty to talk about from this week, and I look forward to your comments. That starts at 9 a.m. Thai time. Also got our Grumpy Old Men program with Steve, and that'll be on Sunday. Now, there's been plenty of, faux outrage and extensive coverage on the latest in this cannabis situation. Now, given that there's really been nothing changed since the election, and the Prime Minister at the time making it quite clear what his thoughts were on the matter, but suddenly there seems to be all this, oh my God, we're so surprised. But we'll get to that a little bit later on in the program. For now, we will get to the main story from yesterday, and that is this huge fire. And we'll go with this one in nationthailand.com. Huge Rayong blaze tamed after Navy deploys drone and warship. And a deadly blaze at Rayong's Maptaput industrial port that killed one person and sparked an evacuation was extinguished with help from the Thai Navy at around 4 p.m. on Thursday, according to officials. Well, it was tamed, then it wasn't, and we'll follow the story along. The fire erupted when an 18-metre tall fuel storage tank belonging to Maptaput Tank Terminal exploded around 10:40 yesterday. The Royal Thai Navy deployed a drone to help control the blaze and a warship to evacuate residents affected. I'm not really sure what the drone can do to help control the blaze beyond perhaps getting a bird's eye view. As far as the warship evacuating residents, were they, taking them out to sea? And firefighters battled for 6 hours to put out the fire, which at one time threatened to spread to another fuel storage tank. One person was reported dead, 4 others injured, and around 400 residents were evacuated to the Maptaput Pitiakan school after Rayong authorities declared an emergency. And then it says that in 2021, a chemical tank explosion killed 3 people at that same terminal. Now, later on, the Nation reported fire at Maptaput estate rages despite hours of firefighting efforts. And a bit more information, the pyrolysis gasoline, also known as pygas, is a byproduct derived from the production of olefins, primarily composed of aromatic compounds. Pygas possesses a high octane rating, rendering it valuable for blending to enhance the octane level in gasoline production. I figure that was copied from Wikipedia, but at least we know what the chemical was. Now let's get the latest. Now, we go to Calcit English. This was posted just after 4 p.m. yesterday. Update, 1 person's been killed, 300 workers evacuated. Breaking, the third pyrolysis gasoline storage tank has exploded. Level 2 state of emergency has been earlier declared in Rayong after firefighters were still unable to control the fire from the 2 large pyrolysis gasoline storage tanks. And then this was posted around about 6 p.m. last night. Firefighters have managed to put down the fire at 3 large pyrolysis gasoline storage tanks in Rayong province's Maptaput industrial estate. So a huge chemical fire, and according to the Nation Thailand, it wasn't the first at that particular facility. But 1 person dead, 4 injured. I'm sure we'll hear more about the mopping up in today's news. Now, a story I meant to report the last couple of days, but there's been other things to report. And the PhuketNews.com says Cabinet extends visa exemptions for Indian and Taiwanese tourists. And the Cabinet's approved a proposal to extend visa exemptions for tourists from India and Taiwan for an additional 6 months to enhance the influx of foreign visitors and stimulate the economy. As we head into our traditional low tourist season, the government would be very keen to keep the party going, so this might be behind these extension of the exemptions. The Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin announced that the existing waiver, set to expire today, would now continue until November the 11th, allowing travellers from India and Taiwan to stay in Thailand for up to 30 days per visit. And that is without having to pre-apply for a visa. And then the story goes on. In the first 4 months of 2024, Thailand welcomed over 12 million foreign tourists. They say that was a 39% increase from the same period in the previous year. Tourists from China, Malaysia, Russia, South Korea and India made up half of the total arrivals this year, according to the Ministry of Tourism and Sports. Now, it will be interesting to see the mix of tourists we get during this low season. Is it going to stay with that same top 5, or will we see some changes? Our Friday program, and recognising our sponsor, 5 Star Marine at 5starmarinephuket.com. Thank them for their ongoing support. Please support them if you do come to Phuket and you want to head out onto the waters of Phang Bay. Now, speaking of Phuket, this story, CalSouthEnglish.com reports a British man arrested in Bangkok on charges of defaming a Phuket restaurant. Now, we have seen it before when various Thai businesses get a little bit lemon-lipped when they're criticised, especially in social media. And a British man who's been wanted in Phuket since the middle of last year was arrested by officers from the Crime Suppression Division in Bangkok. Alexander, 21, that's all we know of him, was arrested on a warrant issued by the Phuket Provincial Court on August the 23rd, 2023, on charges of importing false information into a computer system in a manner likely to cause damage to the public. Perhaps damage to the restaurant that he was talking about, but I don't think he was going to be damaging the public. And we can see that the matter goes back to mid-2022 when Alexander was staying at an apartment in Phuket, had a dispute with the owner of an Italian restaurant over access to the accommodation. Here's the meaty bit. Even though the restaurant allowed more convenient access to the apartment, it incurred the cost of opening the route and reserving it exclusively for clients who used their services. And the restaurant advised that Alexander refrained from taking this route, which greatly upset him. And later, the restaurant discovered its customer review scores on Google had dropped dramatically from 4.9 out of 5 to just 3.1. And they'd received a 1-star review, with the reviewer being Alexander, who used, they say, false and distorted statements to maliciously damage the restaurant, and Alexander got his friends to leave similar reviews. Interestingly, there have been some aggrieved commenters on the TNT program who have tried the same stunt with me by leaving 1-star reviews for my beach houses without even staying in them or even probably knowing anything about them. But this is a tactic that some people use for some sort of retribution. And the restaurant owner then filed a complaint at the Saku police station, that's in the north of Phuket. The investigating officers gathered evidence and requested an arrest warrant from the court. But Alexander quickly fled from Phuket to Bangkok, where he was recently apprehended. Well, that was yesterday. But he's denying the charges, and the authorities have sent him to face prosecution at the Saku police station. So Alexander scored a free flight back to Phuket, where he will face prosecution for, well, defamation and libel, usually taken very seriously here in Thailand. Now we go to the next story, and the Prime Minister is off on another jaunt using his frequent flyer points. And Thai PBS World reporting that PM Seta to visit France, Italy and Japan next week. He's going to be in France and Italy from the 15th to the 21st, then Japan from the 22nd to the 24th, and his primary objectives are to attract investment to Thailand, leveraging the country's soft power, and the promotion of collaboration in various sectors such as trade, industry and energy. And the French want to facilitate collaboration between the private sectors of both countries. In Italy, the Prime Minister wants to enhance relations in areas of strength and in alignment with the vision outlined in the Ignite Thailand 2025. Might be able to use yesterday's fire as an example. And then in Japan, the Thai PM will be participating in the Nikkei Forum and holding discussions with members of Japan's private sector. So after making a lot of headlines in Thailand over the past few days, I think the Prime Minister will be happy to get on a plane and then get some nice photo opportunities with leaders from other countries. Now, here we go to the Bangkok Post. And check this out, 1.4 watt of heroin seized in Nong Khai. 1.4 kilograms? What do you think? Well, it's 1.4 tonnes of heroin seized in Nong Khai. Now, that's a lot of heroin. And 4 drug smugglers have been arrested and 1.4 tonnes of heroin smuggled across the Mekong River, seized from a house and a rubber plantation in the Sangkom district of Nong Khai province. So we're right up in the far northeast of Thailand. So Border Patrol Police learned that a large quantity of smuggled drugs were being kept at a house in Sangkom district in the northeastern province bordering Laos. And when police arrived, they found 4 men carrying cardboard boxes into the house. And they found the 20 cardboard boxes contained heroin. Hello, what's in those boxes, boys? During questioning, the suspects admitted there was more heroin hidden in a nearby rubber plantation. Officers went there and searched a makeshift shelter, finding 9 more cardboard boxes. And the suspect said some Lao nationals on board a motorboat had delivered the heroin to the Mekong riverbank. Well, that really is a shitload of heroin. But drugs have been in the news, plenty of outrage. Some might call it faux outrage. Well, let's try and find out the latest. And breaking this yesterday on the Khalsod English Facebook page, the Interior Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said yesterday that many foreigners owning marijuana shops must be arrested. The remark came after the Prime Minister announced a crackdown on drugs on Tuesday and pushing to recriminalise marijuana for recreational purposes. Anutin Charnvirakul, the head of the Pumjai Thai Party, who was the public health minister at the time, responsible for removing cannabis from the narcotics Category 5 listing. And he's reported in Thai PBS World claiming he was double-crossed in Parliament over the cannabis bill. And he said yesterday that his Pumjai Thai Party had fulfilled its election pledge to decriminalise cannabis, but the party was double-crossed when its associated bill passed its first reading in the House, but has been blocked from further progress since. Anutin insists the party has scientific proof of the advantages of cannabis for medical and health uses. But he said the problem with cannabis is that there's no law to govern its use, adding that the authority to delist cannabis from Category 5 or to relist it rests with the Narcotic Prevention and Suppression Board and Narcotic Control Committee, chaired by the Permanent Secretary of Public Health. The Bangkok Post had a go as well. They had the headline, "Cannabis U-Turn Could Bring Protests, Lawsuits." The Bangkok Post yesterday doing no fewer than 3 stories about the issue. This story says a complete recriminalisation ordered by Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin on Wednesday would also push the cannabis trade underground, according to Ratapon Sanrak, the owner of a Bangkok-based dispensary called Highland Cafe. Writing Thailand's Cannabis Future, an advocacy group said it would hold a protest against the move in Bangkok on May the 16th. The story says cannabis currently enjoys the status of a controlled herb, and there's no outright ban on its recreational use, which has allowed nearly 8,000 dispensaries. Now, this number seems to be very fluid, as we'll see in other stories. Some people claiming in the comments section yesterday, I'm pointing at my mobile phone, that there was up to 20,000 stores in Thailand. I don't think that's correct. Probably somewhere between 5, 6, 7,000. And in another story, the Bangkok Post said weed policy U-turn draws flack. And they've even got a graphic timeline all the way from June the 9th back in 2022 when the Minister of Public Health issued an announcement declaring the removal of cannabis from the list of Type 5 narcotic drugs, all the way through to Wednesday when the Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin states during a meeting at Government House with several state agencies handling problems associated with narcotic drugs that cannabis will have to be reclassified as a narcotic drug. And you can see that whole graphic at the Bangkok Post in that story. And the story goes on saying the plant was later delisted from Category 5 of the narcotics law, except extracts containing more than 0.2% THC, the compound that creates the psychoactive effect, in an announcement in the Royal Gazette on June the 9th, 2022. And then PatiaMail.com wasn't going to be left out. Barry Kenyon opined the Thai government's rush to recriminalise cannabis by Christmas will be a titanic challenge. And this story says there are around 6,000 so-called dispensaries in Thailand selling everything cannabis buds, oil extracts and weed-added cookies with assorted extras and paraphernalia. The industry might already be worth a breathtaking US $1 billion. Taking a breath, policing the rules is currently the responsibility of the Food and Drug Administration, which has far too few trained staff to have any impact on illicit cannabis use. The Narcotics Control Board has the separate task of regulating breaches of the 0.2% of THC, that's the hallucinatory element, but there's little evidence either of the investigation or of cooperation with the FDA. As matters stand, the regular police have been very reluctant to become involved. Well, of course, the boys in brown, the local constabulary, have been the biggest losers in this decriminalisation. Let's go on with this story. And we'll read this in full. The new bill, according to the Prime Minister, will ban all leisure cannabis and restrict its sale for medical uses. Here is a can of worms all writhing to get out. A fee-charging doctor's prescription will be necessary, but it's naive to think there won't be flexible health checks. And the law presently forbids cannabis extract over 0.2% of THC, but permits the sale of cannabis flowers as controlled medical herbs, which often exceed the limit. And weed-growing companies and import-export agencies are not wholly Thai issues, as many of them have foreign shareholders with nominee partners. Such complex subjects won't be easily sorted out. And he finishes that story with a parliamentary bill can certainly criminalise once again leisure ganja, but it's a sobering thought that prostitution was declared illegal in Thailand under the Entertainment Venue Act of 1966. It still is. And that story in PatiaMail.com, you can read the whole article if you'd like to there. The media went absolutely crazy with this yesterday. I would say, once again motioning over towards my phone, 90% of all comments were about this issue. Quite a mixed range of 50% for and against. I don't really care. As long as people don't blow it in my face, doesn't really bother me what adults do in their spare time and with their bodies. But beyond that, YouTube also decided to demonetize the program yesterday. I thought they'd sort of got over demonetizing me every time I talked about this issue. But I had to appeal twice before they finally monetized yesterday's program, but all too late for me to make any money from it. Anyway, let's move on to our final story today. We go to Cowsod English and their Facebook page. It says the president of the Koh Samui Tourism Promotion Association expressed delight that Koh Samui was ranked 4th among the top 10 favourite islands in Asia by Destination Reader's Choice. And it's a luxury travel magazine in the Asia-Pacific region, and it noted that Koh Samui has beautiful natural surroundings, accommodations, amenities, and the ability to maintain a peaceful island atmosphere while having sufficient development to support tourism. So let's have a look at the best islands in Asia from Destination Reader's Choice. Bali, Indonesia, number 1. Maldives, number 2. Phuket and Koh Samui, the only islands in Thailand to make the list. There's also Boracay in the Philippines, Phuoc Kuoc in Vietnam, been there twice, Langkawi, Penang in Malaysia, and then Palawan in the Philippines and Lombok in Indonesia. So what do you think about that list? It's just a bit of fun having a look at these lists. They don't really mean anything, but interested to know what you think anyway. And with that, we thank you for dropping in, catching up with the main stories around Thailand. Tomorrow, our live program starts at 9 a.m. Thai time. Look forward to seeing you. And then on Sunday, we've got Grumpy Old Men with Steve Ross. Thanks for watching.